everyone, it's Lolita, and this video is showing you how to take your thumbnails that you've drawn and get them sized up to your 11 by 15 watercolor paper. This technique applies to any given size. You just have to change the math around. The math in this video is very specifically for the 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 inch thumbnails and how that's a 1:4 ratio for the 11 by 15 watercolor paper that we work with for this class. Hope you enjoy. This is a diagram of a thumbnail, the thumbnail size that we're using in class, that 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then I've drawn a rectangle that is the same size as the watercolor paper that we're using. And you can also see here where I've marked out the 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 rectangle on the larger 11 by 15 rectangle. So that way it illustrates literally how the 1:4 ratio works and how the 3 3/4 goes into the 15-inch side 4 times and the 2 3/4 divides easily into the, or fits easily into the 11-inch side 4 times. So this is the second time you guys are doing this, transferring your thumbnails. And this time I'm giving a demo as requested. So I've got one thumbnail here that I've sized for the 15 by 11 watercolor paper. And I've got my thumbnail, which is a 1:4 ratio of the watercolor paper. So the watercolor paper is 11 by 15, and that means if we divide 11 by 4, because it's a 1:4 ratio, so for every one measurement in our thumbnail, there'll be 4 measurements in the full-size design. And you can see here where I have subdivided this, and I show you that 3 3/4 goes into, physically measures into 15 4 times, and it physically measures on the 11-inch side, it physically measures 2 3/4 4 times. So that is why we have gone with the 2 3/4 inch measurements and the 3 3/4 inch measurements, because we're using that 1:4 ratio. We could have used any ratio that we wanted, a 1:2 ratio. Those are a little big, they're not really thumbnails. A 1:3 ratio or a 1:5 would work. And in each case, you would just divide the number, the width and the height of your paper by whatever that ratio number was here. So that's why this 4 is here, is that 1:4 ratio goes to here, where 1 is the measurement of the length or the height. And that's how we get the 11 divided by 4 and also the 15 divided by 4. And that's how we do that 1:4 ratio. Now what we can do, now that I've done my design and my thumbnail, what I can do is I can use a tool like this divider, and I can use it to see where my edges of my elements that I've drawn in my design, where they're placed, and I can use that fixed measurement and multiply it by 4 times, and that will let me know where the edge of my circle is in my thumbnail, and allow me to place it accurately. Now if you don't have one of these, oh look, it just happens to be 1/4 of the way down. And now I'm going to do the same to see where this edge is, so I can get the, okay, and it looks like I put it about the same distance in, so I know that I'm going to go 1 2 3 4, and then I'm going to make that edge here, And I can start drawing my design and transferring it to the larger paper. I'm just gonna go light in here, do that semicircle that I had done here, and start transferring my design that way. It looks like I had contoured this edge a little more. And this goes back just a little more. So this edge is out a little farther. So I've got a different perspective of that circle. And I'm going to keep that new semicircle that, or partial circle that I've drawn. And I'm going to measure these next edges in a similar manner. But this time I can use just any random instrument. I don't even need a ruler to actually measure. I just need to get that fixed distance from one edge to the next, and then I'm going to use that distance and walk it out on 4 times on my paper, because I know that this paper is 4 times bigger than this thumbnail. So I'm just going to measure from the edge of this bubble or this circle to the edge of this circle, and I'm just going to measure. I'm going to just use this eraser that I've got here, and I'm going to put the tip of my eraser and line it up with the edge of this circle, and I'm going to put my thumb, and this is what you would do for a siding technique. So if any of you know how to do that siding, this is how you do it. And so I'm just putting my thumb here down at this edge, and that gives me that fixed measurement. So I'm going to move that up here and mark that off 4 times. So this way I know where the edge of my next circle is, because I'm using that measurement, that relative measurement, 4 times. And I don't have to be entirely too precise with this, because this is just a rough idea of what my design is. And so I can go ahead and just rough in that idea and get the design going here. And you see, I'm sketching it in here, and the reason I'm sketching it on my newsprint is because this way I can transfer the design and work it in with a sketching process, and then I don't have to worry about whether or not the mistakes I might make and how those would appear on my watercolor paper. And this way I can do all of my perfecting on this paper and all of my erasing on this paper, and I'm not going to have to worry about getting all of those eraser marks and abrading and starting to damage the surface of my watercolor paper. So I'm just going to do this last measurement. Again, I could even do it with a pencil. I've got a pencil over here, and so you can just use any instrument and mark off just use the tip of it, and then take your thumbnail and place it at where the edge is of the unit you want to measure, or the edge, the edge you want to measure to find out what distance it is relative to its placement in the thumbnail, so you can get that same relative placement in your larger design. So I'm just going to do that same thing here and mark it off by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's about where I put the edge of that circle, and that gets me about the design that I'm looking for. The rest of this is not so technical, and I can just use the relative proportions that I can see with my eyes and put the rest of my design here. And I'm really not going to need to measure this one out. So it looks like I put this somewhere in through here. And I'm just going to put the full circles, and when I work my design out, I will go back in and erase what I don't need erasing. So that is it. And that is how you transfer your thumbnails over to your larger piece of newsprint. Of course, you guys will do 9 thumbnails, and you're going to pick out 3. And the style I've done here is just to capture the essence of postmodernism. I'll go through with, and I'm going to paint this design in class. I don't, in my in-person class, I don't know that I'm going to do a demo video of it. I may or may not video it or record it while I'm painting it. But I'll finish this transfer, and I will also give you guys a still shot of what the design looks like once I've gone back in and tightened it up. I'm going to put that in your lesson plan, but I am not going to put it in this video. Keep in mind that after you've completely transferred your drawing in pencil and you've done all of the corrections to your drawing on this portion of the paper, what you want to do is go over that in marker, and then from the marker you're going to use that window transferring process and tape it up to the window to get it transferred to your watercolor paper. I'll post a photo of the completed transfer in the assignment in our lesson in Canvas. And as always, I hope you learned something. Bye.